Hello. All right. Today is Saturday, December 10th, and it's a glorious, wonderful Sunday morning, Saturday, and I am walking to the grocery store right now. And today has been preceded by like 3 days of pretty bad weather, rainy, really cold, and I've had to still go about doing everything as usual in those kind of conditions, which isn't a big deal. I like that kind of training, mind and body, just having to do it to get to where I need to be, to do what I need to do. It's good. I like it. And I have a couple of things written down to talk about for this new podcast, and I just released the other one yesterday, but I thought that it'd probably be a good idea to go on ahead and make a little clip as I walk to the grocery store, because it's probably about a 2-mile one-way walk, and I know that when I spend these days by myself, if I spend too much time without talking, my mental space gets a little crowded with a bunch of words and stuff, so I figured that it'd probably be a good idea to go on ahead and riff a little bit. And I have some things written down, like I said, but I have a good feeling that if I just kind of vibe on this track, then I think I'll be able to pull out some gold as well. But until that gold comes, actually, one of the things I have written down is to talk about my classes here, which is sort of interesting. When I first came here to Japan, it was the first week or two was pretty amazing. I felt like I was learning, each day felt like an entire week with how much I would learn, because I learned so many words. And Okairi, ohayo, ittakimasu. Learned so much every day, just little things, how to say, what I was doing, what I wanted, what I needed, what I was curious about. Hello. And so, I thought that it was kind of feasible at that rate to become somewhat fluent within the 6 months that I would be here, just so long as I actually really wanted it and really, sought to achieve it. And I still think that's probably true to a large degree, but the amount that I've been learning has definitely decreased. It's sort of like, I guess, a drug in a way. I've developed a little bit of a tolerance because to a certain degree things just aren't as new, and so the repetition has set in, the routine has come, and things are a little bit more grounded, a little bit more stable. So each day isn't necessarily packed full of learning, of Japanese learning. But, that's not to say that there isn't at least one thing I learn every day. I tend to learn at least one, but I think those first couple weeks, it was like several per hour, and it was a little overwhelming. I remember a few times walking in the hallway and just feeling like I was going insane with all the stuff I was having to process. Just the separate mental thoughts, the separate thoughts I was having just about being where I was, and my thoughts about Japanese, the language, and then just taking everything else in on top of that. It was a lot. I enjoyed it, but it was still the shakiness was a little unnerving at times, especially if I had too much coffee, which I tend to. I've actually never had as much coffee as I have since I've been here. It's interesting because I thought that I'd be switching to tea, but I definitely drink more tea in the States. Tea isn't necessarily like well, it's an integrated part into this society, no doubt, but I don't know, it's more Americanized, I guess. There's a lot of soda. There's a soda called Calpis, which I guess they tried to transfer over to the States, but because of the name, it didn't really work out because it sounds like Calpis, but it's Calpis, Calpis. And that's a pretty big drink around here. And I've been drinking instant coffee, which is not as bad as I would have thought before I started drinking it. And I'll be off this busy, noisy road soon, so don't worry. It's kind of cool. It's kind of nice sound effects. It's real. But the instant coffee is not bad. I tried out a bunch of different brands before I found one that was actually somewhat delicious. And I've been sticking with that one. It's called Blindy. And it's, I don't know, it's pretty good. It's decent, you know. The effect of the caffeine is weird. I can't tell if, chemically speaking, if caffeines have like hidden subtleties, like maybe something like, you know, wine, different types of alcohol, different types of marijuana. There's supposedly all these subtleties in the effect, obviously in the taste, in the, I don't know, these things depend on region, conditions, you know, how they were grown, stuff like that. And coffee definitely to me seems to have a similar kind of, I don't know, variability in its effects. And the blendy coffee tends to be good, but the caffeine makes me sometimes feel very anxious and worried. And so maybe it's more of a indica type coffee. I'm not sure. But to jump off of that, back to classes. It's interesting because the classes, was that wind picking up? Maybe not. The classes, they were going really, really well, and at the first, and I felt very confident in all the work I was doing, and would, you know, by and by, understand everything that we were doing by the end of the lesson. But the tests, it's been a severe divorce from the tests and the actual lessons. The tests are really, really difficult. And on average, you know, the first couple of tests, everyone failed, and the grades have gone up steadily, but it's still about a 75% fail rate or so. Maybe less now. But it's pretty discouraging. And I have a lot of complaints about why that is the case. I think the book that we're using is bad. We're learning Japanese now in Japanese, which I think is good. Like, the teachers speak only Japanese, but the textbook is also only Japanese. And so that's a little difficult. You know, having a grammar point explained in the language in which it's being used is kind of like defining a word with the word. It doesn't really make clarity. It kind of makes it even more confusing, because our vocabulary and our grammar ability, you know, if the grammar and vocabulary needed to explain a new grammar point exceeds our ability, then we can't really comprehend. So that's been sort of a contention, but I'm not really too worried about it. I'm pretty sure that this whole study abroad thing is more or less a pass or fail thing, and I'm definitely in line to pass, no doubt. Because I think the grading system is based on like total involvement with the school, which I've done a lot, and you know, it's more experiential, and I hope that that's the way that they grade this, because this whole process, being in Japan, has been quite an experience, and if I were to fail, which I don't think I will, that would be a far cry from really, putting a number or a figure on what I've learned and what I've gained. So really, I'm at peace either way. I don't really care. But definitely have a few gripes that I share with everybody. And everyone more or less agrees. It's sort of a broken kind of system right now. But maybe that's just the way we are, because we're E1s, the low-level folk. Who knows? Had a really good conversation yesterday with my Australian roommate Todd. We decided not to go to the culture class. Every Friday we have a culture class, and he and I just talked, and he's a really good guy. And every time we talk, I'm more and more surprised, because he really doesn't give himself much credit as being like a smart person. But after we had a fairly long talk, maybe definitely over an hour, I walked back to the dorms and just thought, he's someone who really, he doesn't give himself as much credit as he should. But I had a really good talk, and this coming up week, I'm going to be playing with some middle school children who are going to come to Soka University, and I'm really looking forward to that. I got an email last week about volunteering to participate in this English-only kind of exchange between a middle school and the university I'm at. And I'm really looking forward to it, because I have already gone to, I think it was another junior high school that's pretty close to Soka University, and sort of impromptu, more or less, gave a talk about America, where I'm from, and just, different American points, I guess, Atlanta points. And I hadn't really planned for it. I'd done a little bit, but it all had to be done in Japanese, and I was kind of nervous about it because my Japanese ability is very, very, very minimal. Especially, talking about, where I'm from and things. I don't feel like I'm at a level yet where I can actually explain things well. And so trying to explain even to, grade school kids at that level, I feel like my Japanese still is inadequate, but it ended up being a really, really awesome experience. They made me laugh, I made them laugh. It felt very comfortable. I really liked being with the kids, and I don't know, I sort of envied them a little bit. Just, they're so young, starting out in their lives, and they have so much time to have fun and be happy and not worry about the things that come later in life with careers and money and relationships, the heavier parts of life that come with adulthood. So it was really refreshing being with them, and I hope to have a similar kind of feeling again when I play with the kids this coming Thursday. So I'm looking forward to that, and that's something better to focus on than potentially failing my study abroad program, which, overall, I'm not failing. It's particularly only in the grammar section of the classes that I have, and I'm taking 5 classes, so the grammar part is really the difficult one. But again, I think it's a merit-based pass or fail, and I'm really putting in the effort, even if the results are a little bit dismal. So that's that. That's a class update. I feel like I could say more, but Ohio. I should have said Ohio gozaimasu. That was a little rude, but Westerner, I think I get the license to be stupid. At least I hope so, because I definitely take advantage of it. Ample advantage, even if I don't have it, that license. Yeah, so I think I could say more about school, but I don't really like to complain, even if I have complaints to complain about. Better just to be positive and do what I can. And let that sort of be an answer in itself, an explanation, sort of an addressing of my complaints. So, I think that's good for now.
Now that the show is over and we have jointly exercised our constitutional rights, we would like to leave you with one very important thought. Sometime in the future, you may have the opportunity to serve as a juror in a censorship case or a so-called obscenity case. It would be wise to remember that the same people who would stop you from listening to Boards of Canada may be back next year to complain about a book or even a TV program. If you could be told what you can see or read, then it follows that you could be told.
As often as I walk, I wonder if now that I'm starting to take this iPad with me when I walk to do podcasts, I bet I could probably do a show every other day almost. I've already got 15 minutes of one clip just from, I don't know, the first half of a walk to the grocery store. And I think it'd be pretty cool to change the time that I usually spend walking in silence, listening to music, whatever, into more of a productive time and more of an expressive time as well. I think that would be good. That sort of reminds me too, listening to music while I walk. One of my pet peeves that I've kind of nailed down recently is when an album is out of order. Like the song tracks, if you download an album from the internet, sometimes the song tracks are not in the order of the original album. And that really bothers me, because I feel like when an artist has made an album, they put a lot of thought and effort into the song arrangement, that there's a noticeable flow. And it could be just that I have gotten used to the flow of certain albums, but some albums that I really love, the songs flow together seamlessly, and the order that they go from one to the other is a very important part of listening to the actual album. One example that I think of is Refused, The Shape of Punk to Come. The sequence of those songs is very important to the overall flow of that album, and it would be very, very sad if I was listening to that album out of order. It just wouldn't be the right experience. And recently I downloaded some Sting albums. I've been really listening to Sting, and it's funny because I think Jake, listening to Sting, his lyrics, they're all stuff that you would write, Jake. If you were more into pop music, the type of pop music that Sting makes, I think your songs would be most resembling his music. There's this album with the song If You Love Someone, Set Them Free. I don't remember the name of the album. I think it has the word turtle in the title. But he's singing this song about Russians and dropping a bomb, and it's from the early 90s, I guess, before or maybe after the wall came down. Who knows? But it's just every word that he wrote is very political, very cynical, very suspicious of government, and it just seemed like something that you would have written. And so walking down the street, I was pretty entertained listening and just thinking, God, no difference between Jake and Sting lyrically. So you should check that out, man. I think the song's called Russians. And aside from that minor point, something I've really gotten into a lot since I've been here has been art, particularly, I guess, art with a little bit of, art with some type of dissent, some sort of implicit or, in the case of Banksy, I guess very explicit kind of subversion. I like that theme. I bought a Banksy book, which those of you who know who Banksy is probably can find the reason why I bought that to be self-explanatory. Very, very cool political commentary, done in a very, unique way. But another book of a Japanese artist, and I forget his name, but it's called Neo Ruins. It's a really cool collection of, what are those things called? This is a lithograph, which I still have yet to understand what a lithograph is. I've looked it up several times, and even watched YouTube videos of how lithographs are made, but I still don't understand like the original. I don't understand the purpose of a lithograph. I don't get what it is, but I know that like MC Escher also used lithographs a lot to make his images, and so my main concern with lithographs is like to what degree, if you're making a lithograph, does like what tools do you use? What's different between making like a lithographic image and a painting? Like I know that the process is very, very different, but do you still use your hands in the same way to create the original image? Is it still like the same amount of skill to create a lithograph? Because I know like all the straight lines and everything that MC Escher has in his drawings, and similarly in the Neo Ruins, which is a series of lithographs depicting like famous world iconic architecture that's been like the images are like supposed to capture what it would be like if famous iconic architectural like buildings and things like that were to be left to rot. And there's like this kind of strange beauty in seeing something like Tokyo Tower or the the Australian Opera House sort of crumbling. It's interesting, but there's like a lot of straight lines in that, and architecture obviously it's all about mathematics and using lines to create like very precise buildings and structures. And so I just wonder to what degree lithography, how it helps that process, and to what degree talent is required for that, how difficult it is and all. So I've gotten really into art, and I really like Salvador Dali. Brittany one time got a calendar for one of her friends for his birthday, and it was a Dali calendar, and she said that she was sort of iffy about whether or not it was the right idea to get him the calendar, and I sort of convinced her that it was, because I think I couldn't imagine anyone not enjoying a Dali anything, because his paintings are just so captivating and mesmerizing. And it turned out that he didn't like it, and I'm still, to this day, sometimes I'm just like walking around and a thought will come to mind, and it's always the same thought. It's always just like, how can you not like Dali? What's not to like? I don't get it. Still don't get it. Very strange, but it's a fact, I guess. Not everyone likes Dali. I mean, I could see my parents not liking Dali, but that would seem to be more of an attribution to not understanding it, or maybe not really appreciating the talent that goes into creating a Dali painting, which anyone who went to the Dali exhibit that was at the High in Atlanta hopefully left with a very profound respect for the talent and the ability that Salvador Dali was able to harness in creating his images. So they really are just completely amazing. The scope of his talent is very, very wide. His ability is pretty much unmatched in, I guess, modern art, although he's not a modern artist by any stretch. A bunch of his books now, written by him, just talking about art, the process of it, and the state of it when he was actually, I guess, at the height of his career. He was combating the emergence of modern art, and modern art can just be basically understood as the praise of it's almost the praise of talentlessness by the talented-less. So, the images of modern art where you have like squares and like very basic colors, very simple designs, those sort of images being held in galleries and being sort of held in, in concert with people like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, the really famous artists who have really, you know, developed the consciousness of what art is, or at least what it has been in the past 2,000 years. The modern art movement sort of deconstructs that, and I know that Dali writes furiously about how he just really was trying to rescue art from like a descent into, I don't know, the reverence of talentless artists, which is really interesting. His style is a little hard to read for the mere fact that it's very egotistical and can be a little off-putting, although it's not so egotistical that it's unreadable, but he definitely thinks very highly of himself, and he deserves that, but he almost thinks highly of himself in third person, which is a strange thing. Like he'll refer to himself as Dali, consciously doing that because he's the writer, but then also, you know, raising himself up to some sort of level that, in his own opinion, was sort of unmatched. He has this graph in one of his books where he critiqued some of the most famous artists of the past 2,000 years, himself included, and the categories for critique are, you know, genius, creativity, originality, work with shadows, use of color, those sort of things. And he rates himself very high, like up with the masters and everything, and has a lot of the modern artists rated pretty low, ranked pretty low. So, you know, it's interesting to get that perspective, but in terms of like sitting down and reading a Dali book front to back, for me, it's not a very possible thing. It would take a lot of willpower to do that, so I'm sort of segmenting reading some of his books into parts. I'm actually still reading On Writing, the Stephen King book, and after that I'm going to hopefully read the Changing Seasons, or maybe Change of Seasons novella that Stephen King wrote, that has the story for Shawshank Redemption, has Apt Pupil, and I think it also has the short story that became The Secret Window, but it may not have that. That might be a separate book. But Stephen King's pretty sweet. I really like what he has to say. He's so simple and so masterful with his simplicity. It's very cool to see someone like Stephen King, who talks about, whenever he talks about creativity or ideas and like where he comes up with his ideas, he always says the same thing on any interview and anything I've ever read, just that he doesn't know where his ideas come from. There's no idea bank, there's no idea, you know, depository or withdrawal system. He has these little flashes of, you know, potential ideas, and then he lets the ideas unfold themselves through him, through his writing. He uncovers what happens. And when I've written anything, I've always found a similar kind of process, that you're more of an archaeologist. Yeah, I think that's what he describes himself as, like an idea archaeologist. You see a little tinge of gold in the earth, a little fleck of something that looks valuable, and you start digging. And the deeper you dig, the more you uncover. And sometimes you find that you have found gold, and other times you find that you haven't. And it's a mixed bag, but I don't know. He's a very humble, for how much success he has achieved, he's very humble with it. Sort of juxtaposed to Dali, for sure. No doubt about that. Coming to sort of a busy intersection now. I think I'm going to call it good for now. I'll do maybe another clip soon. I'm heading towards the, I think it's called the Taguchi River, and that'd be a good little stretch to do another clip on. And that stretch will take me all the way to the grocery store. So, talk more soon. Love you. Bye. I just stepped off of the main road and got onto Kawaguchi, or whatever the name of this little river is called. And this is definitely one of my favorite sections to walk on. And today, it's living up to its reputation. As I said before, it's a beautiful sunny day, and I feel that it's a deserved sunny day, after the bad weather we've had recently. And so I'm walking along the side of a river, and it just looks really beautiful. There's like a million huge koi fish that I'm looking at right now. One's on its side. Very tranquil kind of little spot. It's very nice just to look at, enjoy, and be close to. I don't really know of any places in the States that have a ton of rivers, but they're like little rivers that kind of, crisscross the main landscape. But Japan seems to have a lot of rivers, and that's nice. Maybe it's just because I'm close to the mountains. In fact, that probably is why that's the case. The mountains, I know, bring rivers. But I like it. And this is one of my favorites. Here is the name of the river. Hopefully next time I'll be able to remember. It's Kawaguchi Kawa. So river mouth river. The name of the river. And had a little bit of a thought session, a little brainstorming while I was walking to get to this little cut through that takes me to the grocery store. What to talk about next, and listen to some music, a few songs. Ben Folds 5 song came on from the unauthorized biography of Reinhold Messner, and it was that song Mess. And I love that album because the mood of it is just so consistently somber and just like so perfectly capturing of like just melancholy. But every time I listen to a song from it, it kind of puts me in that mode for a little while too, because I like to sing to those songs. And so singing those songs kind of evokes that imagery in my own mind, and the tones are just so dark and sad. So I'm sort of walking that off now. I love that album, but it always does have that effect, except for maybe that song Army. Army's a little bit more upbeat. It might even be the most important song on the album, just for its upbeatedness. And it's like perfectly put in the middle of the album, kind of. It's like a little bit of a refuge from the overall vibe of the album. And so I basically talked about everything that I had written down. I had another little point that I had written down when I had a lot of coffee, and thought I could riff about it for a little while and make it interesting. But now that I've had a little less coffee and more time to think about whether or not it's really something I want to talk about, I've sort of reconsidered it. It's basically something I've realized being in Japan. One of the many billions of things that I've realized is just how sexualized America is, and how unsexualized Japan is by comparison. A couple examples. Maybe I'll end up actually talking about this more than I thought I would. I thought I would just kind of say that and move on, but it's somewhat important because I think it plays into feminism and role of women and how women are viewed, and if women are equal to men and all, which obviously I think they are. And I don't think it's necessarily just a matter of thought or consideration to believe that women are equal. I think it's a fact, and the only thing that has really put a barrier between that equality has been man-made institutions and ideas. But anyway, basically in Japan, women and girls, rather than having sexiness be like what sells and having sexiness be the goal of every woman and every girl in Japan, cuteness is sort of the same, satisfies the same desire, but just in a different package, For instance, you don't really see very many women walking around in extremely form-fitting clothing. Wow, that was really cool. Ducks just landed in the river in really cool pontoon boat style. That's cool. Anyway, so Japanese women don't walk around like exposing parts of their body to a large degree, and in America, obviously, they do. Tight clothes are very popular, and cleavage is ever present. And in Japan, this might be just a factor of the fact that Japanese women tend to be very slender and not voluptuous, but cleavage is not a very normal part of everyday life. It's sort of a weird thing to say, but you don't see as much cleavage. Like cleavage, the idea of cleavage in like the clothes that I guess allow for cleavage are just not popular here in Japan. And the big idols and the people who people look up to, they're not like super hypersexualized idols. They're people who are cute, lovable, almost like with a childlike innocence, but not in the same way that, like, I don't know, the Lolita concept has like a childlike innocence. It's more just like, something you want to package and like put in your pocket and keep with you and just look at because it's cute, which I think just that sentence and idea in and of itself describes a lot of Japanese, consumerism behavior. They like to package cute things, and cute things are where it's at. So that, I don't know, that's just something strange that I've come to really be aware of. And I think, I don't know, the crossroads that I come at in thinking about that idea is whether or not it's good, mostly in America, to have women being so, obviously it's a cultural thing, the clothes that women wear in America and the amount of like actual body that is visible through these clothes. It's a cultural thing, and it's not necessarily confined to America, but it's definitely present in a majority level in America, and that's as exemplified by the lack of it here in Japan. So I wonder if it's like an objectification of women, that you don't really have much choice. If you want to dress, fashionably, you end up showing skin, just inevitably. Shorter, tighter kind of clothes are just what you wear. And I just wonder if that's liberating or if that's objectifying. I can't tell. I don't know. I really don't know. Because it depends, I guess, on what the purpose of clothes like that is. Is the purpose to is it because women like those kind of clothes that they wear them? Or is it because it gets men's attention? Or is it a combination? Or is it just happen to be what the current style is? I don't really know. And not being a woman, I'm not really sure. I think if I was a woman, I'm not sure if I would like to wear American style clothes. Though I'm not really sure I'd like to wear Japanese style clothes either, because definitely extremely unflattering. But then again, I'm approaching everything from an American perspective, and what's unflattering to me is hello, he says, Japanese boy on a bike. Just I try to approach everything from a fair kind of perspective, because I know I'm already biased because I'm American and I have my own set of glasses that I look at any sort of issue through, and I'm not necessarily the average American either when it comes to contemplating issues and all. So I don't know, that's something I've thought about recently, seeing people going by, just whether it's a good thing, who is more in the right, more towards the Japanese side, more towards the American side. I don't know. I watched this thing on art recently, actually, this BBC show, and it was a series probably from the 80s or so, and the host was having a series of artistic points that he spent an hour just talking about, and one of the points that he talked about was female nudes in art, and just how throughout history female nudes have existed, mostly just for men to be able to look at, and there is sort of a pervasive kind of pose, an idea that goes along with females who are depicted in images, mostly so that men can just look at them, and women tend to look dead in their eyes, not really focused on anything, very passive, just not very in control of their own person. They just seem like a model, in a very plasticky sense of the word, like being a model. And the man who was hosting the show kind of talked about how the purpose of women, the purpose of cultivating beauty in women is to grab men's attention. And I think that to a large part that's probably true. And I think there's a lot of biology and science that goes into why that would be true. But in more of a spiritual level and more of a, human level, I just wonder, given biology, given everything, what is the highest truth in this situation? What's the best for everyone? How I don't know, expression, self-expression through clothing or whatever else. I just hope it's not contrived, I hope it's honest. And getting close to the grocery store now, and really have enjoyed walking on this little riverside. It's amazing how many fish there are, truly, and how big they are too. These fish, this is if you caught one of these fish, you'd be eating well for 2 or 3 days easily. Very tranquil kind of vibe to them. So I think I'll probably just leave it here and enjoy the rest of the walk, just thinking and soaking up the sunlight. And yeah, I hope you're enjoying your weekend, though you won't be hearing this until probably the coming of the next. Until then.行ってきます。やほう。おかえりなさい。
どこ行くの？
駅前に。
駅前に？
はい。
歩きで。
もちろん。今日いい天気ですね。
いい天気、確かに。今日超いい天気。
どこにいた？
今日はクラブ。
クラブ。
そう。で練習終わってちょっと寮帰ってきてまた練習行く。
いつも忙しい。
忙しい。
OK。
ごめんね。
じゃあ大丈夫です。わかりました。
気をつけて。
はい。All right. Well, that was nice. Just saw Papa-san, the grand leader of the dorms. My RA came up shortly after that. Had a little convo with him, as you heard. Told him I was going to the train station. He's just getting back from a little bit of practice, a little bit of renshu. So this is still Saturday. Part 2 of my grand walk. The first walk to the grocery store was a success. As if it could be anything else. And now I'm walking to Ekimai to go Christmas shopping and buy postcards. So, hopefully I'll be able to complete all that today. Today's like the 10th or something of December. And so Christmas is just around the corner. And if I want the gifts to get there anything close to Christmas time, I need to probably send those as soon as possible. since it's about a 2 or 3 week delay between sending stuff. So I'll do that, hopefully get everything I need today, and hopefully send everything out this coming up week, send everything out by Wednesday or so. So when I got back, ate a little food, watched a few Charlie Rose interviews, had a nice little nice snack, apples and bananas and peanut butter with some real peanuts inside. Very, very delicious. Got to give some props to family for sending peanut butter. It's a luxury I didn't even know I missed until I got some and realized how really good it was, how really good it is. And so recharged myself a little bit doing that, drank some coffee. It's pretty cold out today. Sun should be going down in about an hour. And so just wanted to put a little bit of stuff in my body so I could continue to make some heat. And walking to the train station now again on the same route, although it will be slightly changed so that I may see Mount Fuji, going towards Ekimai. And I had a few thoughts since last recording, and wrote them down so I could kind of pick up on the threads and expound and expand upon them. One of the things I was thinking about, and this is a thought that I kind of go to often, it has to do with something I heard reading a Steven Pinker article. And Steven Pinker is I believe he's at Harvard or Princeton or some Ivy League college. He's a quite famous linguist, studier of linguistics. And he wrote this article about, he's all about consciousness and has written several books on how the mind works. One of his books is called How the Mind Works. There's other ones called The Stuff of Thought, things like that. So he's a very interesting guy. And I read this article, I think it was a Playboy article actually, and he said that the thing about someone who is a jack of all trades, someone who can do anything, or can do, I guess, has a fairly good idea of how to do most things, jack of all trade, is a master of none. And ever since reading that, I've sort of, I don't know, my own self-image, I feel like that kind of describes me. I really don't like having diminishments in who I am as a person and what I'm able to do. But I find that because that's true, and I like to learn and I like to be able to know and do things, I'm not necessarily a master at any of them. I can do many things, but my skill level is perhaps somewhat mediocre. And sometimes that bothers me. And a couple of minutes ago, when I was leaving the dorms, that was sort of kind of weighing me down a little bit. I walked by. Konnichiwa. Ekimai ni.
あ、今行くんだ。
はい。どこにいた？
あそこでメロンパン買って
いいね。ちょっと寒い。
た。寒いね。
ちょっと寒い。気をつけて。
気をつけて。いらっしゃい。
じゃあね。Another dorm mate. Another conversation about the cold. Another conversation about my shorts. Shogunai ne. Can't be helped. Can't be helped. When Japanese people would comment, earlier when I first got here, they would comment on my legs, how long they were, which always makes me think of my mom when she said I was born. The doctor said that I would be very tall because my legs were so long. And Japanese people like to comment on things that are obvious. And so they always would say things like, "Hashi wa nagai ne." It's like, your legs are long. It's a pretty funny thing to say to someone. And so after a while of hearing that, I just started saying shogunai, which basically, using it in that kind of a context doesn't really make the most sense, but I think it's funny. It's basically like saying, can't do anything about it. So your legs are long. Well, can't do anything about that. That sort of a thing. Right now I'm trying to cross the highway, similar to, I don't know, 78 or something right now. I'm in the median between lanes. But anyway, So that was sort of a thought. The thought about the jack of all trades is master of none. That's a scary thought. I don't like it. But then maybe it's not so bad. I guess it's like being a Swiss Army knife. Not necessarily the best. Swiss Army knife doesn't have the best of all the things that it has within it, but it is extremely useful and can be used for various amounts, various types of issues, problems, things like that. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about that for a sec because I also feel like in these podcasts I want to try to dig deeper and kind of be a little bit more real. Talk about, feelings more sometimes than thoughts. I like thoughts, and I think if I didn't have the ability to intellectualize my problems, that I would just be collapsing into a constant puddle of sorrow. Because when you can intellectualize problems, you can tinker with them like a mechanic, and if you can do that, there's a sort of a distance that gets put between you and the problem. The problem is no longer a part of you, it's more something to work on. It's something like a bike that you can put, in the shed and forget about. So, I'm gonna dig a little deeper, makes me actually remember I signed up for counseling. And, man, I think even I might have had a dream last night now that I think about it. Can't remember. But I saw a counselor last year once a week, like every Tuesday or something. And we would just talk about whatever. I would kind of set the pace. And it was always like a whirlwind of conversation. And at the end of the whole session, or the actual therapy time, I guess, when the service had to come to a close, when I would no longer be eligible to receive another counseling session, the counselor and I had a conversation, and it was interesting because I asked her a bunch of questions about herself in a very psychological kind of mode, I suppose, about her life, her husband, being married, being a woman, being from India, education, being a liberal, things like that. And it was like kind of rapid fire questions that I was asking her. And they were, I don't know, the tables were turned in that session. And after I finished talking to her, I asked her a few questions about me and her perception of me and what it was like to work with me during these sessions. And she said that up until that point, I was the first person who's ever come to her and had sessions with her who hasn't cried at least once. And I thought that was interesting. I didn't cry, and I didn't really get close to crying. We talked about a lot of things. I mean, I met with her for probably maybe 2 months. I don't know. Probably 2 months at least. And, I always set the tone of the conversation, and we talked about whatever I wanted. And she pushed me, too, to kind of go in other directions if she felt like I was holding things back and whatnot. But, I don't know, that, I guess, in light of that, I mean, during the sessions, I know that intellectualizing problems in order to discuss them in a very removed manner was a lot of how I dealt with those sessions. And so, since I have said that being in Japan has taken a lot off my plate in terms of, insecurities, things that hold me back, I figure I might as well try to venture a little deeper into myself, into real expression, get to know who Kenneth really is. I think few people do. Few people do know, and sometimes myself included, although I think not knowing yourself is probably a pretty common experience for people. I think we surprise ourselves pretty often. So I'm going on a hike tomorrow with Quick, and I've been looking forward to that. Sometimes if I'm having a bad week or a bad day or a bad moment, and I have something in the future to look forward to, I will switch as fast as I can to thoughts of that and sort of just ruminate, sort of marinate on what I have to look forward to rather than what is currently bothering me. And I tend to find that helps a lot. So, I'm excited to go on that trip tomorrow. And today, anytime I've had little thoughts that have kind of been less than happy, I've just remembered that tomorrow will be fun, and the superficiality of today's insecurities will give way to the actuality of tomorrow's promised happiness and fun and good conversation and good pictures. There's a crow in front of me right now eating garbage on the street, and he sees me now. I think he's getting a little nervous. He just flew away. Big guy. He didn't fly too far away. He wants to keep eating this garbage. Don't worry, I'm not gonna eat this crap. But I watched a TED Talk not too long ago about a man who had trained crows to operate a vending machine. And it was a vending machine that required like the input of a coin-like thing in order to get a reward. And it was very interesting because I guess he showed that crows were definitely one of the smartest birds, but also just in general one of the smartest animals, because they were able to, crows were able to see that the machine could be worked, the vending machine could be worked, so that if you put a coin-like item into the slot that the animals had to put the coin into in order to get food, it would still work. Crows are problem solvers, and they can think outside the box in order to achieve their goals. More similar to a human, I guess, than an animal more rudimentary in its thought processing ability. So, that's interesting. I just saw one. And I'm walking out by the park again that I was at a couple days ago. I don't remember what day that was, maybe Tuesday? Something like that. Maybe Wednesday. Walking towards the train station. Cold wind blows. I am still wearing shorts. Can't really explain why, other than the fact that it's just tradition, and can't knock tradition. Don't want to anyway. But I'm cold, and I don't know, cold times of the year are just cold times of the year, and just endure it. I dress like an idiot for this time of year, but I think I'm probably outside more often than most people, so I don't know, I can deal with it, so it's all good. That's all that matters. Let's see, the question is, keep riffing on things that I'm talking about now, pull out an idea that I had sketched a couple hours ago. I am going to listen to music soon. I like folk music a lot for winter, like kind of lo-fi indie folk. What's it called? Fleet Foxes, the new Fleet Foxes album, which has taken me a little bit of time to get into. I definitely want to listen to that before the sun goes down as I walk into Ekimai. The route I'm taking, I'm going to go over by the post office, and then I'm going to walk along another river, Asakawa, which will take me over to a road which is parallel to the main road that goes into the train station, and then walk that road up to another road which is perpendicular with the road that takes me to the train station, and then take that road to the train station. So very roundabout way of getting to the station, but it'll be very scenic, and I have my camera, so if there's anything beautiful or worth picturing, I'll be able to capture it. So I'm excited about that, definitely. And in the meantime, I'll just be trying to feel the vibe out, see whether or not it's time to switch over to the music. But I feel like I still have a few things left inside of me to get out. And the one that keeps coming to the surface is I miss black people a lot. Being here in Japan, it's like a 98% homogeneous population, and there are definitely no black people. I think I've seen maybe 5 since I've been here, which, that's probably quite a few by Japanese standards, but coming from Atlanta, you see 5 with your eyes closed. No pun intended or whatnot, but which I'm not really sure what the pun would be there. But anyway, the realness and the soul that black people have, I think, would be a very viable revival for Japanese people if they could really get on board with the soul and the caliber of realness that black people possess. Something wholly absent here. So that's sort of that lack of expression I talked about last episode. I think, import some more black people to Japan, some African Americans in particular, and fix that problem. I think that would be done. I'd be fixing it. That would cash out the bowl. Good Lord. Which, obviously, I miss Atlanta a lot, too. Can't have Atlanta without African Americans, in my opinion. They are inextricably linked, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Atlanta offers a lot more in the way of hospitality. Southern hospitality, obviously. That's what the South is known for. And I miss that here, definitely. I had a lot of conversations with people about being homesick, and again, I'm definitely not homesick, but I don't know, it's a strange coming together, a strange confluence of feelings and emotions that have to do with going home versus being here. And going Christmas shopping today and thinking about Christmas at home, I hadn't really thought about missing it and hadn't really been worried about not being there, to open presents or give presents and all that. And I don't really think I'll wholly miss it. I think it'll just be a regular day, and I don't think I'll be upset or anything that I'm not celebrating Christmas. But I guess it'll be interesting to have that absence, because I'm very aware as of right now that Christmas is coming and that it's here soon. But, Thanksgiving came and went, and I didn't really process that, but it's hard to compare Thanksgiving with Christmas. One of them is definitely cooler. So that'll be interesting. And my birthday's coming up too. The 15th, a couple days. I'll be 22, which actually that's another point that I was wanting to talk about. Aging and already being 22. Already reaching the point where, I'm going to be graduating from college within this year. Undoubtedly. That's an incredible lapse of time to have gone by in such a brief matter of moments, it feels like. All of my friends and myself included, we've always had, complaints and stuff against school and going to college and what's the point and stuff like that. And a lot of my friends didn't go to school, and after high school, that is. But I don't know, I often thought, even in the midst of having all those doubts about being in school and continuing school, that it was worth doing at least just to occupy those 4 years, because, already those 4 years have passed by, and it really has been just so quick, and seemingly, there's been a lot of effort involved, but it was nothing like building the pyramids or anything. I mean, school has been relatively simple. Courses, I mean, I don't know, it's for the opportunities that going to school affords you. I'd say the toil that was required in order to get this far was minimal and worth the effort, definitely. So just an interesting little thing. Snap a quick photo of some beautiful mountains. I really like that Hachioji is a valley. I think I'd like to live in a valley one day. Just like the idea that there's like a flat surface surrounded by mountains. Reminds me when Brittany and I went cross country when we first came up to Denver, Colorado, and just the dramatic contrast between the foreground, which was like the flat city of Denver, which basically looked like a scab on the landscape. Looked very sickly. You have that, and then you had like these huge mountains, bigger mountains than I'd ever seen in my life, and probably still the biggest mountains I've ever seen. Just like jutting up, just seemingly out of nowhere for no reason. And just the contrast between the plains at the foot of the mountains and the mountains themselves is just something I really like. Something about it is just very spellbinding, very intriguing to me. I just got to the part on this walk where I stopped the other day and really dove into the podcast's real meat, little stair area. Wow, 23 minutes already. So yeah, aging with school and all those things. It goes incredibly fast. I've heard from so many people, and it's a cliche now, I think, too, that, you know, time goes quick, time goes by fast. But I think it's very true. And I mean, another example of the truth of that is, since I've been here, I've noticed my facial hair is sort of extending and expanding to parts where I've never seen it before, like on my neck and stuff like that. And even right now, my friend Quick has sort of inspired me to grow my facial hair out. So I'm doing that at least until January 1st. But it's just weird to see my body progressing forward, you know, aging, maturing, things like that. It's just very surreal. I can remember being 13 and just dying for leg hair and a deep voice. And I wanted leg hair and a deep voice so bad that I never really thought about facial hair, which is maybe why I'm just not getting it. But, you know, it's just, time is a very precious thing. And goes back sort of to the thread earlier in the show with wanting to really, you know, if you're a jack of all trades, you're a master of none. So I hope that I'm able to find something in this short amount of time that I have here in the world to definitely use what I have, what my strengths are, to do something worthwhile, and hopefully in doing so fix or make something better, which sort of, I think the last point that I had written down, actually, it's kind of nice, all the points I had written down have kind of naturally flowed together, but yesterday when Todd and I were talking, as I talked about in an earlier clip, we talked about just like this. I think it's a very prevailing, like, conflict in my generation, our generation, depending on who is listening to this podcast. It's just like this feeling that you have something that you like to do. And for Todd, for example, he's conflicted with whether he should pursue a high-level career in business, or if he should raise fish. And he's liked fish and I guess been interested in fish in whatever way he has for 10 years, he said. But I think he's worried that it might be a little too diminished of a life. Really not sure if that would be enough, provide enough money and provide enough stability for him to be comfortable and happy and raise a family and so on and so forth. But at the same time, he has this passion for fish. And me, similarly, I would, like, ideally, as of now, I have obviously all these aspirations to do something great and grand and help and, really dive into some aspect of the world that needs changing or fixing or assistance. But then at the same time, more immediately, the thing that I would most like to do is just work at a cafe, like I said on the last episode, and just, commute on my bike and, nothing grand, but just the idea of it really gets my blood going. It's very, something about it's very, just that feeling that I'm supposed to be doing that, that I'm supposed to be there. And so I don't know, this is that thing in our generation, this conflict between doing something that we think we're supposed to do versus doing what we want to do. And I'm not really sure what factors attribute to that being in our collective, I don't know, purview, I guess, our generation. Like, what if it's perhaps that we have TV and different forms of media that, the highest level of success, and even the word success as a adjective for something to strive for, success, or I guess a noun of something to strive for, it has a very monetary connotation to it. I mean, we see people, movie stars, singers. Money is the ultimate measure of success, and I don't know if it's always been that way throughout human history, or if there was more of an era where talent and ability was respected and honored in and of itself. And I mean, I guess wealth has always been present within human history, but I don't know. I feel like the just the massive amounts of media and everything that we're all exposed to this generation, we're just our idea of what we're supposed to be conflicts with what we would like to be. And I think about that a lot, the reasons and how to go around that. But I think it's time. To put on the music. I feel like I've exhausted almost everything that I wrote down, and I don't want to start talking in circles. So I'll leave it there for now. And I need to get shopping. The sun's going to go down in about 35 minutes. So until the next clip, stay genki, stay warm. I'll be doing the opposite of both. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye. All right. Standing at the summit of Odake-san, 1,266.5 meters above sea level. Here with Quick.
Hi.
How do you pronounce your Chinese name?
My Chinese name?
Mm-hmm.
Gu Hao Quan.
Gu. So it is
Gu Hao Quan.
Yeah, so we're just waiting for the sun to go down, looking directly into the face of Fuji, a beautiful mountain range.
Yeah.
Just
with all the curves.
Yeah, the curves are great.
Around it.
The colors, it's great. It is like a wave. It looks more like the ocean than it does.
Layers.
Yeah, the layers are great. A little bit of fog on the tops of the mountains. It's going to be an interesting hike back in the dark. Have a little light. You think this will do? You think this will be all right? It's like a reading light. One little LED.
Hopefully we can read. our road back. Oh, it's so powerful.
Yeah. We'll see. Perhaps it will be surprisingly bright. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Is there anything you're itching to get out quick? Anything you want to let thousands of people know?
Certainly, I kind of understand in the Asian printings. They kind of only draw the curves. They don't do the details. It's kind of more get the spirit of the sceneries.
I see what you mean.
Seeing the sceneries now makes me understand this a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think Japan's love for Fuji too. As soon as that sun goes down a little bit more, it's going to be a lot more apparent why people love Fuji so much. You can almost see the snow. If we had been here a couple hours ago, when the sun was maybe overhead, that'd been nice too.
Different kind of view.
Yeah, different, very different. It's interesting. Fuji lies to the west. Ine. You like adventures?
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. So hiking back in the dark is a fun thing.
Hopefully. Hopefully we don't get lost or fall down.
Or die. Or all the above. The blue is really starting to come out.
Somehow I feel that my pockets are all wet from sweating.
Oh, yeah. There's a sweaty ascent. That sun is so bright. How long do you think we'll have when we start walking back until it's dark? Like 20 minutes, maybe?
Yeah, pretty soon.
Yeah.
From the experience. And since we are walking in the mountains, it will be even darker.
True. But you want to see Fuji, right?
Definitely. And
So soon. It's a shame we got lost today going to Hinode.
yeah,
That was a little bit of a detour.
but it's okay.
Yeah, it was a nice
Once
summit.
we get here.
Yeah, definitely. It was nice. Oh. Starting to get much darker. So quiet up here.
I forgot to turn off the timer.
I was wondering what that noise was. That was funny. So from here, we're just going to hike back to Mitake and then go down from Mitake back.
Yes, I think so. Unless we can find.
A close train station. Should we look at the map again?
Yes, I think so.
It didn't look very promising before. Yeah. Definitely. I think we'll be back at the dorms by 8, though.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god. Holy shit. It's 1,000 yen to go down on the cable car. It's really, really expensive.
If we get to Mitake, the way down wouldn't be too hard. Although according to the map and the old ladies,
Yeah.
this station supposed to be closer.
Closer than where we started.
Yeah, here.
Yeah.
It's 1 hour down here and 2 hour to another 2 hour and 20 minutes to the station. So it's in total will be 3 hours. Seems already minus some.
We'll probably do it faster.
So here is 1 hour and 50, and so accomplished here 30 minutes. It's about the same. It depends on if you want to
Explore in the dark.
that will be.
Maybe we
That
should.
seems the. I don't know.
It's about
I
the
guess
same.
about the same.
Yeah.
So, what do you say?
Well, since it's going to be dark anyway, it seems like we should go back the same way we came, just so we don't. We'll see a few things that we recognize. It'd be harder to get lost.
Yeah.
If it was still going to be daylight, I'd say definitely go this way so we could see some new stuff. But
the lady says it's easier, so maybe we should take that way.
Easier, huh?
Easier. Wait a minute. Oh, what's the name of this place?
Odake?
Odake and Otakuma. Is there Otakuma station there? Yeah, Otakuma's Okutama's taking route. I guess it would be less steep, but it's only my guess. Let me see the map.
Yeah.
The rock is so cold.
Yeah. It's like a refrigerator.
The map ends here.
Is that
So
Mitaka?
can't really. Oh, wait a minute.
I can feel it getting colder.
Already. No, it's on this map.
Do we have the same maps?
I guess so.
So Goku Kire. Fuji at sunset. It don't get much better. We're gonna have such a long walk back.
Yeah. That's what expected.
Yeah. It's okay.
So close. My jacket off. That's because we stopped.
Each second I can see a little bit more of the snow. Nice, nice, nice.
Nice.
Good night. Oyasumi. guess we'll call it quits there for this clip. Hopefully we make it back, y'all. Fuji eclipse.
Fuji much.
Definitely.